We're back. Discipline to Win, episode 35. Today, me and Nick are going to talk about how you use innovation, technology, and artificial intelligence to scale your business much faster than you ever could just instead of adding more people. So be sure to follow us on all socials, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. Make sure you're staying up to date for all of our episodes and send us any DM, interact as much as possible. We love to, chop it up about anything business. But Nick, I'm going to toss it over to you. Just talk through, and you've been leading this charge for our organizations, how you've been really leveraging technology to get us from, at this point, I'd say we're trying to go from C to D. I don't want to say failed, but we've had a lot of turbulence just trying to add bodies at problems. Talk through how you've led the charge on utilizing technology and how we're seeing it impact our business much more than just doubling your people.
Yeah. So I think to your point, the first thing was noticing that we were adding more and more and more people, but like all that was happening was our profit margin was actually decreasing and our output wasn't incrementally increasing based off the amount of people that it was a diminishing point of returns based off like adding people, but increasing output. It wasn't 1-to-1, which it shouldn't even be 1-to-1. You should be getting like 2-to-1 on that investment at least. So like I was lucky enough that I do have a personal contact who is now acting as our partial CTO, and he's done some startups and has a lot of experience in the space. But my question to him was, how do we essentially take like our systems or processes that we're using right now, and without doubling our headcount, how do we double our output? Which was his entire experience through the past 25 years of him being a CTO at multiple large firms.
And let me just stop you there. To all the viewers, this isn't like you can do this way sooner probably than we even did it. Where like you don't need to be a $20 million revenue company to invest in this. So you don't need to go and spend $500,000, $1 million a year on a chief technology officer. Like, go ahead and just tell them, I guess, like, even for a team like ours, what does it cost essentially?
Yeah. So like our engagement is a little over $3,000 a month for like what is considered like a partial CTO. And that's on like consulting basis.
Kind of like a retainer, basically.
Yeah, retainer. And this is a guy who's got plethora of amount of experience, a lot of high level knowledge. And then basically from a project standpoint, then that varies. So we have a handful of projects that we're working on within our business that would be additional costs. But like I would strongly encourage, even if you are a business that maybe is sub $1 million in revenue, and like if you're considering going and hiring 2 employees that let's say are entry level or administrative level, and they're each going to cost you, let's say $50,000 a piece, like there's a really good chance you could, rather than putting $100,000 into 2 people on an annual basis, that you could put less than $100,000 into getting expert level CTO knowledge and them coming in and being able to create efficiencies with technology, with AI, with systems, with different platforms that are going to ultimately streamline your business, and you're not going to have to hire those people. So in the long run, it's going to save you hundreds of thousands of dollars rather than continuing to add more and more people to try to increase output. So that's what we noticed with multitude of different factors. We went from a $3 million company to $10+ million company in less than 12 months. So like when something like that happens, and every business will go through this that's trying to grow, like you will have your point where like you have massive spurt of growth, and then and there's probably different levels of it. We'll have it multiple different times throughout the journey, but like you have to recognize, are the systems, the processes, the tech that I'm using, are they scalable for what I'm trying to do? And most of the time the answer is no. Now, there's not a cheat code to where you can just jump to the end. It's like, oh, well, why don't I just put systems and processes and technology in place that is at the very end? Well, like, one, the systems might not work for the level that you are at. If, like in our case, we're a 50 employee organization, those same systems don't work when you're a 5,000 employee organization, number one. And neither does the tech. We don't have $50 million like a large firm to go ahead and spend on different types of tech. We have a certain tech budget. So like it's all incremental along your journey in which you are building.
And I think I will stop you right there because you brought up a really good point. And I've seen this a bunch in different businesses where like the process that got us from 300,000 of revenue to 1.2 million in revenue was like innovative compared to when I stepped in the business and like everything is literally like paper files just stacked in a drawer.
Yeah.
Like that was one evolution. But then that like stopped and halted and we reached a max capacity. And it was important for us to not say like, no, this works, like this is the only
Yeah.
way. And we had to come up with a new system and process that got us to the next level. And then we hit max capacity on that. I think that a lot of entrepreneurs slash just anybody in business get so attached to a system or process that they created because they're like, no, like that's my way. I figured
Yeah.
that out. And they think that like it's some hit to their ego or something if they implement something new that's even better, when that's not the case at all. You're only hurting yourself at the end of the day. So I think that you have to shed any like attachment to a system or way of doing something that you or even someone else may have created, because it's only holding you back from what you could be if you just listen to somebody else that knows more, has a more innovative approach.
Yeah.
And you brought up a good, like, what we think right now that we're doing is the highest tech process or system out there. It's probably not going to get us to like the end. You know
No,
what I mean? Like we're going to
definitely.
have to innovate and pivot again.
Yeah.
And I think it's just like crucial that you got to go through these seasons of growth and have no attachment to the old way of doing things.
And I think you definitely have to be okay with being uncomfortable during those changes. Like we went from a totally different document file storage structure system and transition to a new one. Extremely uncomfortable process for like 60 days for like every single person in your organization. But then you get to the end and it's like way better. And then we're doing the same thing with a different like base platform that we use every single day, and we're transitioning it to another base platform. It's going to be extremely uncomfortable for like literally 60 days, but then it's over and it's so much easier after that. So like, I think a lot of people get held up on the 60 days of like, oh, well, business is going to continue to go. How am I going to get through this? Which you have to push through that. It's just, again, it's like, it's part of just growing pains. You can't be fixated on like, oh, well, this works for now and this is comfortable for now.
Classic, if it's not broken, you know,
don't fix it, which that's a terrible attitude to go about anything. Like, there should never be a time, especially if you're a business owner, there should never be a day that you aren't looking at your business and you're like, how do I make this organization better? How do I make this organization more efficient? How do I provide a better service model? How do I make this organization more profitable? Like, how do I maximize opportunity for employee growth in my company? Like, you should be thinking that every single day. And if you ever let off the gas, then like, you're not being a good leader.
And I think that, again, this is an area where like, to stress on how important it is to have partners in businesses, to where like it is impossible to do that if you are wearing like 73 hats like most entrepreneurs do, and then like just never break through to the next phase, to where like right now, like all the things we're talking about is like your world. Like this is your everyday, everything that you are focusing on. If I was focusing on all of that, I wouldn't be able to be looking forward at everything we're trying to do external to the organization, where it's just like so crucial to have people that you're aligned with, that you trust, that you respect, that like like we talk about all the time, everyone just having their sphere of influence and lane that they're affecting the org in a positive way. And it's just 10xing the output of everything if you have people that are doing all of the above. So this is definitely where you strive and thrive in our org. And I would say that, you know, really from a standpoint of to try to encourage anybody that is in their org and they're trying to think of like how, like the word innovation, like means 100 different things depending on whatever your industry is. So I guess like to anybody that's a 1, 2, 3 person team, and it could be any industry, and they're trying to ask themselves, how do I innovate? Like, what does innovation mean to me? What would you, since this is like your world and everything you do every day, what would be your best advice of what they like, what's an actionable step they could take tomorrow to try to innovate their org?
I would just say like, definitely at base level, when you're 1, 2, 3, 4 employees, like if you like, I think the best example, because we see it all the time with like small businesses that we acquire or that we merge with, is like, what's the next step that can just make your organization a little bit more efficient? And the example that we always see is like going from Excel sheet to an actual CRM platform. It's like so many people like run their small business off an Excel sheet. And like, don't get me wrong, we use Excel for a lot of different things and it's great. But like,
it's a crutch a lot
like
of the time.
I would say if you are a small business, that almost in all cases applies to small business, of like, take the Excel sheet, go to a CRM platform. Like that, it may be this first step in 90% of cases, because like there's so many different things that like you're probably not even thinking of that you can leverage, like different CRM platforms, whatever it may be, email campaigns. There's all different types of tracking tools, metrics, like reporting. Those are all things that at the beginning, yeah, you don't really need to do that much reporting because there's like two people and you're the one producing all the revenue. But then like if you have multiple different locations, you have multiple different producers, you have multiple different people doing all different types of things, like reports really matter. Your financials
sure.
really start to matter. Your client tracking from a referral standpoint, all your marketing tactics from an ROI standpoint, all of that stuff really starts to matter when the numbers get big, when you're pumping that stuff into it. But I would say like look at your business and identify what's the first step that I could just get a little bit more efficient with, even if it's going to be uncomfortable. And whatever that may be, it may be so simple too, of like,
Yeah.
even at the base level, going from paper file to like electronic. Like if you were like a paper person and just like
To
going
most
electronic.
businesses, that's the epitome of innovation.
Yeah.
Like start there.
Like literally
honestly.
just get things like
Yeah.
electronic, because we're so fortunate in our day and age where like, I mean, you look at some of these companies, especially these like really high level, like cybersecurity, these AI companies, these tech consulting firms where like they're getting billion-dollar valuations and they have like 50 people on their
Yeah,
team. Like you
it's
couldn't
crazy.
do that before. Like the
No.
only way you were getting billion-dollar valuations is you have thousands of people in your organization. We're so fortunate because we can leverage technology, and with all of the continued automations and efficiencies that we have at our fingertips, like that wasn't the case before. Like you are, it's like the people who used to fight like, oh, email's never going to be a thing, or
Right.
like everyone's going to continue to read the newspaper to gather news, or everyone's going to continue to watch cable to gather the news. Like there's always going to be something changing, and I think like your ability to adapt and change quickly and like actually do it is crucial.
A hurdle you mentioned too, because most people listening are going to be the small business owner with 2-3 people. Your people will push back
Mm-hmm.
crazy in the beginning and be
Yeah.
like, nope, won't work, can't do it. It's going to disrupt this and that. It'd be too hard. And it is your job as the leader to lift their eyes from where they're standing and even point them 10 feet ahead.
Mhm.
And just like most people see a bump in the road or a hurdle or a crack in the sidewalk and their eyes are just fixated on that. But just like Nick said, like after 60 days, 90 days, 3 months later, not a big deal. 6 months later, you kind of laugh about it, to how like you can't believe that you even thought that that was going to be a big deal, and then a year later you literally forget about it.
Mm-hmm.
So it is your job as the leader to keep people focused on the horizon and let them like brush off the resistance to change. And if people can't adapt, can't change, then like they've got to get off the boat. And like that's your job as a leader to like make sure that everybody's rowing in the right direction. And if people are trying to row in a different direction, then you got to get them off the boat.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's 100% right. And yeah, I mean, this was like kind of a quick one. I feel like we went over a lot though.
Yeah.
But like, I think that's like the base of today's conversation is like, look for anything that you can make a little bit better, no matter how uncomfortable it is, or if it's going to be a lot of work at the beginning. And I can almost promise you that, like, if done correctly, it is going to allow you to get over that next hurdle, whatever that next hurdle is going to be, and continue to allow you to scale. And this is not to say like you can't run an organization with no people. You will always
For sure.
need people.
And we're not trying to like replace people
Yeah,
with
definitely
automation.
not.
Like,
No. And
it's going to like amplify the output of our people.
that's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
It's like in this process that we're doing, like we're adding people still, but it's like the people that we're adding in our existing people, rather than doing like 4 hours of monotonous work that we can now automate, like they can focus on higher level tasks, which then brings more opportunity into the firm, which helps obviously everybody involved. So like that's the focus. It's not like people get nervous. They're like, oh, is AI going to take my job? It's like, well, AI shouldn't take your job. Like if you can truly add value, AI should only help you add more value to what you are doing in your organization if used correctly. So definitely is not like replace your people with technology, because that's the complete wrong way to go about it, because then you'll get steamrolled by businesses like ours that still meet people in person, still have human touch. That's where people lose it a lot. But
find a way that you can maximize your efficiency and your people's efficiency using technology. And like, that's going to continue to help you level up and scale.
For sure. And the last thing I'll add too is stick with it. Like also like you're not going to get good at the new tech or the new systems overnight. So if you don't fully understand it, or it seems like it's tough to adapt to, like push yourself and stay disciplined and commit to it for a quarter. I highly, highly doubt that after a quarter, you'll be worse off than, before you were trying to use whatever the new system or technology is. So
yeah,
just like everything else, stay disciplined, and we'll see you next time.